Hi everyone, my name is Calvin Cherry, and I have written a prequel to Bram Stoker's masterpiece, Dracula. It's titled Stoker, Evolution of a Vampire. So over the past several weeks, for my video blogs, I've been discussing the publication process and the different aspects of it. So today I want to focus on the publicity and marketing aspect, which is very, very important. So if you think about it, you could write a masterpiece, a New York Times bestseller. You publish it, but without the proper marketing and publicity in place, no one's going to know about it. So I just want to touch on some things that I learned. And again, last week I mentioned that I went with a hybrid publication process, which meant that the majority of the marketing publicity landed on me to handle. So being a novice to this whole ordeal, Stoker is my first novel. So there's a lot of trial by error that I went through. So I just want to share a few things. So the first thing I want to mention is that it's very important to have a strong social media presence. So whether you create an author Facebook page like I did, or an entire website, that's something that you definitely want to think about right from the get-go, to use as a platform for your work. Some things that I did early on, I made sure that I had a Goodreads account. Goodreads is probably one of the first places that people go to when they're looking for book recommendations. So a lot of people do book reviews there too, which is another important thing that I'll mention more of next week. But Goodreads, and I also created an account on Amazon Author Central as well. A launch party. So that is something that can be very effective right after your book is published. I ended up having a launch party at a small mom and pop bookstore. A lot of people decide if their home is big enough, they do one from there, or maybe their church or a community club, whatever your preference. Make sure it's big enough and that you invite all your family, all your friends, and everyone that you can think of that would be interested in your book, and have them spread the word. So make sure that you have a great attendance planned. That way you can get the most out of that. Book signings is something that I found very effective. I don't want to go too far into book signings here. I actually want to do a separate discussion on that next week. So I'm going to kind of leave it there. One thing that I did that was very effective, I started joining groups. So again, my book for me is a historical Gothic horror novel. So I joined many different groups, from vampire groups to Stoker fan groups to Vlad Dracula the Third groups, to historical fiction groups, to paranormal groups. And so whenever I would make posts about my novel, I would always share those posts with these groups. And for every one of these groups, there's already a fan base out there that's into 1,000 or more subscribers. That way I can kind of leverage on all these different groups and hit as many people as possible. Radio and TV is two important techniques that you can use as well. For me, as I did book signings, I would run across people who were into radio or television, and I was able to use their networking and get into, especially around Halloween, I was able to join some podcasts and radio and television spots around Halloween. So that's something you might want to think of. The page publishing, they were big into sell sheets, which I ended up taking advantage of. Sell sheets are kind of like a little marketing one-page deal that you can hand out at book signings. I hung them up at work and at different places in the community to advertise your book. Also, think about doing a book trailer. That's something else that Page Publishing offered, and I took advantage of that. But they're kind of expensive, so make sure that you use that to your momentum. Make sure that you put it everywhere that you could possibly think of, so people see it and can share it and keep sending it out to different groups and Facebook pages, and so everyone is seeing that on a regular basis. Try to think about different places where you could also go to give presentations about your topic and readings. So whether I did a lot of book signings where I would do presentations and readings at the same time. Libraries is a good place that you might want to start out with. Any place where colleges is another. I did several there. But any place where you could be invited. And one thing that I learned is not necessarily to sell your book out directly, but any place where you could go do a presentation or a reading and at least get your sell sheets out there and your book out there, and that way you're not like hand selling right there at the event. You've got enough people coming out to the reading or presentation to where they can share it with their friends. So again, those are some things that I learned. Next week I want to dive deeper into the book signing aspect of it, because I did those pretty regularly for about a year and a half, so I can speak hands-on to that topic. So I hope you found this interesting. As always, if you feel like my book is a book you would be interested in, it's available at all online bookstores. And if you go into a brick and mortar store and they don't have it, they can certainly order it for you. And always, if you're interested in a signed copy, just private message me and I'll be glad to hook you up. So again, thank you for your time. I'll see you next week. Bye.